The Free Agents podcast contains mature themes and adult language. Any discussion of gambling is for entertainment purposes only. Please abide by all laws in your location regarding gambling.
Can we start?
This week on The Free Agents.
You beat the Seahawks the way the Denver Broncos have played the entire season. Quick passes, don't challenge Richard Sherman, and I think Denver's going to be all right in this game. I really do.
Who are you keeping in your league? Let's see, drop some notes on the Facebook page. Tell me I'm crazy not to keep Robinson Cano.
No, you really have no need to worry. A lot of the losses, and LJ will tell you, they were just bad scheduling. As far as...
they lost to Houston in a back-to-back. They lost to Portland in a back-to-back.
Welcome to the big game edition of the Free Agent Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Smarge. Joining me in studio this week, LJ is here. LJ, how you doing today?
I got chicken wings and beer.
Chicken wings and beer. That's always a good day.
Let's go traditional.
That's right. And via Skype, Chris Curtis joins us. How's life in the frozen Great Lakes, Chris?
Well, it's frozen.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you want from that, but it's definitely frozen, and I'm kind of tired of it. Bring on spring.
Well, Atlanta is upset that you sent all your cold weather down there. They're
Atlanta got crippled by. Let's do a quick weather thing.
Do it.
But fucking Georgia got crippled by an inch of snow or 2 inches of snow, and then everything turned to ice, and they've got no salt and sand and no trucks
they're
or
not
anything.
Prepared for any
so
of it.
Literally the highway shut down, and then the mayors didn't close schools, and then they said, well, the forecast was this, and CNN's going, oh, well, CNN's based in Atlanta, so really you don't want to fuck with CNN.
No.
Because they've got all the information. They can rewind the forecast and everything else. So now it's basically the mayors and the governor versus CNN for who fucked up the storm.
Well, I don't know if you saw this, but Chipper Jones actually had to go out in his four-wheeler and save Freddie Freeman from traffic. Freddie Freeman was stuck in the frozen jam out there for like 8 hours, like ridiculous amount of time. And he was tweeting out, and Chipper Jones happened to see it because they're buddies and they're friends on Twitter.
Yeah.
And he went rolling out. There's pictures of him like hugging Chipper Jones on the four-wheeler, like when they got back to his garage, like all bundled up.
Oh no!
But I got friends.
Got a little bit cold. They postponed an NBA game for 2 inches of snow.
Well, it's because they have, but they
like 2 feet going.
The thing we need to understand is, we in cold weather cities, we have a Department of Public Works.
Yeah, it's equipped with
and
plows,
they have
sand,
a shit ton of salt and sand and trucks.
They have insurance for snowfall and everything.
In the South, they have none of that.
It just makes it's very.
They don't even sell. They don't even
they
sell.
Got hit by 2 inches of irony.
They don't even sell ice melt. Yeah, 2 inches of irony. They don't even sell ice melt down in the South. They don't even sell that down there. So you couldn't even melt the ice. My buddy's in Birmingham yesterday. And he said the city basically had to shut down because they had an inch of ice on the roads.
Yeah.
An inch of ice to shut the whole place down.
One thing I will say is we'll talk about this in a little bit, but bring on spring and baseball season because I'm definitely ready for it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we will get to that. We have a month till pitchers and catchers, right?
No, it's actually less than that. It's like 14 days now.
Usually.
Yeah.
Fantasy baseball. All right, let's talk about the big game first.
Yep.
How are you going to beat the Seahawks?
You beat the Seahawks the way the Denver Broncos have played the entire season. Quick passes, don't challenge Richard Sherman, and I think Denver's going to be all right in this game. I really do.
All right, then how do you beat Denver?
I'm pretty sure you just off Peyton Manning before the game and just kind of, have them play with their backup. As far as Denver goes, I mean, they looked as close to unbeatable as you can get against New England. And, if Denver is going to have a shot, they're going to have to try to get the ball or keep the ball out of Peyton Manning's hands and have Russell Wilson drive the ball down the field. That's their shot.
Well, Seattle needs to outscore Denver to beat Denver. Because unless they have some sort of miracle up their sleeve on how to stop Peyton Manning, they're going to need to just be on point offensive-wise. The beast is going to need to unleash his ability to run because all year you've been able to run on the Broncos.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that the Patriots did. That's the one thing that the Chargers did. That's the one thing that Dallas was able to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Romo threw for a shit ton of yards, but DeMarco Murray was able to open things up by running the ball.
Yeah, running the ball.
And then Romo was able to throw for a shit ton of yards, but that was a weird anomaly game back in week 5. But I'm looking at all the close games that Denver played, and, Indianapolis had to have, a nearly perfect offensive game to beat Denver.
And they did.
And New England beat them in overtime earlier in the season in week 12. And then San Diego owned them because they could run the ball. So if you're a good team that can run the ball, I think Marshawn Lynch is going to be the focal point of the offense. Of course, that means Denver's going to think they're going to be the focal point of the offense. So Pete Carroll's going to need to come up with something tricky in order to beat them.
He's going to need to mask what he needs to do. And Marshawn Lynch, I mean, he's going to need to run with the trail skills behind him to make it work. And I think he has a chance to do so. It's going to play into the time of possession number for the Seahawks.
Well, he's better than LeGarrette Blount and better than who was it? Stephen Ridley, better than Ryan Matthews. He's better than the guys that ran against Denver already.
Yep.
Is Seattle's offensive line up to the task? I mean, Denver's defense is not that good.
No, it's not.
I don't care how long you give them to prepare. Without Von Miller.
Especially without Von Miller, yeah.
They have issues.
Yep.
And Russell Wilson can run. So, I mean, this isn't going to be just Denver outscoring them and beating them 50-2.
But the big thing, I think, for Seattle is they need to keep the ball out of Peyton's hands. If they can do that and put points up on the board opposite that with Marshawn Lynch and with Russell Wilson's legs, I think they could eventually have a shot at doing this, but they have to stick to that philosophy.
Gun to my head, if I had to pick a winner, I'd say shoot me. Because I literally cannot pick a winner in this game. I have no allegiances to either side. I have no anything to either side. So I really have no way to predict it. I mean, yes, okay, Peyton can do this, but then Marshawn Lynch can do that. Well, then they can do this. Well, then they can do that. And then when you come to the end of it all, you go, well, I don't fucking know.
Well, it's going to boil. I mean, you guys are definitely right. For Seattle to win, they have to eat up time of possession, and they are built to do that. It's a tall order against Peyton Manning. And I think what it's really going to boil down to is, can the Seahawks get to Peyton Manning? And I don't necessarily just mean being able to actually sack him,
right?
But can they get in his head, and can we get him to revert to the old Peyton Manning in terms of his play calling and audibilizing? Because if you look through Peyton's career, and you go back to the earlier days, I mean, he was great back then too, no doubt. But you can find many situations where he's faced with certain defenses where he just makes the wrong decision to decide to hand the ball off when they should be passing, things like that. And especially in some of those great matchups of the pass against the Patriots and some other teams in the league, you've seen that, and those have been opportunities for other teams to move in and win. And they're going to need that to happen. Seattle needs that to happen if they really are going to have a chance to keep the ball out of his hand.
Going on your point with the defensive line of the Seahawks, there is nobody faster in the league at getting the ball out of his hands than Peyton Manning. It's already been determined.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
They're like you said, they're not going to be able to sack him. All they need to do is put the thought in his head, and he's not intimidated easily. So it's going to have to be a combination of more than just that to actually get into his head the way they want.
The Legion of Boom has their work cut out for them.
Yes,
the four best defensive backs are going up against the best receiving core in all of football. Legion of Boom versus we need a nickname for these guys, but I'm ready. Bring it on. Let's go. I am ready for this game. I've been ready for this game for a while. Yep. I always hate the 2 weeks of hype. I always think media day is stupid. I posted the great picture of Richard Sherman took of the media in front of him, his version of what media day looks like. I posted it to our little Facebook page.
That was a good
I thought that was a great picture. I still think the whole hype around the game is silly every year. It's if you read about New York City and all the Super Bowl is all-star weekend for rich people. Joking, I don't know if he was joking or not, but Jerry Jones, I guess, travels with like 20 private jets of people.
Yeah, it's an entourage, no doubt.
But he has that many private jets. I mean, the ridiculous amount of money that these guys are paying, and they don't want to give up a dime. They don't want to give up too many dimes to these people that have head injuries.
Yep.
So Jerry Jones has 20 private jets, but now Javid Best needs to sue because his helmet wasn't good.
Yeah, we can go jump to that topic real quick. For those that aren't aware, Javid Best, the former Lions running back, who has been out of the league a couple of years due to concussion symptoms, as well as other things, is suing individually now the NFL and Riddell, the manufacturer of his helmet, because basically the class action lawsuit for the players with concussion type symptoms is not doing what it needs to. And so he is backing out of that and going after the NFL and Riddell by himself, with representation, of course. But it really just attests to the fact that the NFL did not get it done when it comes to the amount of money given in this class action lawsuit.
Well, I got some issues with that because what is he going to do? Sue him for making the helmet so good that somebody could use it as a weapon? Because if these helmets were pieces of shit like the ones that I had as a kid, you wouldn't be able to put your head down and use it as a weapon because it would hurt too much.
Right.
The reason why guys didn't get concussions and they don't get them when you play rugby is because they're not wearing helmets and they can't use their head as a weapon.
They're not going to do that. Yeah.
They're not going to use their head as a weapon because it hurts.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't make the equipment better because all you're doing is turning these people into weapons. As the equipment got better and better and better and the players got bigger, bigger and bigger, you could literally now, use yourself as a weapon. Hurl yourself at someone and destroy them, and it won't hurt you as much as it hurts them. Yeah. Because the equipment has gotten so good. Do you want to touch on anything else for football before we move on?
I'm ready. I'm ready to be done with football. I'm ready to go and bring on spring.
Warm weather, fresh cut grass.
So Joe Smarge went to me and Joe Smarge participate in a fantasy league. We're co-owners of a team. It's a roto league. It's split in two halves of the season. You first half and second half stats. And it's winner of both, or winner of one gets some money, one half gets some money, winner of the other half gets some money, overall winner gets some money, different places get some money. So it's a very competitive league. There's a lot of smart owners in this league, and it's just a lot of fun to play in this league. And we're going to go over our keepers in our league. And I know some people are going to zone right the hell out. But who are you keeping in your league? Let's see, drop some notes on the Facebook page. Tell me I'm crazy not to keep Robinson Cano.
Or if you'd like any advice too, we're happy to chime in. If you have a tough decision to make, not sure what to do.
Like, I'm serious. Do we risk it? Do we put Robinson Cano back on the wire and let someone bid for him? Or do we keep him at $41, Smarge? That's my toughest decision
right now. That's a lot of
here.
money. We have an extra $18 this year for the extra 2 bench spots. So,
you could fill bench spots with $1.
Well, that's my point. So we could just like in real baseball, some of that money could go to keeping Robinson Cano if we wanted.
Well, as far as Robinson Cano goes, and this is going to be where the kind of his fate lies in Seattle this first year is he going to be able to transfer the success he had with the short porch in right field at Yankee Stadium to Seattle, where it's constantly raining, where the ball dies, and where he doesn't necessarily have the weapons around him yet. He had people hitting around him in New York that he was able to get filtered good pitches because they also didn't want to see guys behind him. He is the weapon in Seattle. And that's going to make things very interesting to see if he can continue his success from New York over to Seattle.
Well, they've moved the fences in Seattle. They're not as deep as they used to be. So that tried to clear up some of it. He's going to be going against AL West competition. So he's going to have some, what would you call them, easy games against the Astros, a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Against Astro pitching, which is, AAA pitching.
If he plays in all, it'll be 18 games. Yep.
And, Seattle is not devoid of hitters.
Right.
And they have some good pitching.
Yeah, they do. And like I said, it's not like they're horrible, but he still doesn't have the weapons that he had in New York.
Last year, he had nothing in the way of weapons hitting around him. Last year's Yankee roster was awful, and he still put up some good numbers.
Mm-hmm. But we got to go on his entire body of work in New York, and in years past, he's had some good ones as well. He didn't have as many weapons last year, and I'll completely agree with that. And I think, and for him to be able to do what he did was remarkable. But like I said, geographically, for sure, it'll be interesting to see if he can take it out west.
It's a tough decision. Me and Smarge are going to have to ponder that one.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Now, Yasiel Puig, obvious keep.
Yeah, it's $10.
Yeah.
I mean, I picked him up. I
13.
I snaked him.
Oh no, $10. Sorry.
Everybody in my league was growling at me like
locked up for 2 through 15. So.
I locked him up for $10. I picked him up off the waiver wire at 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody even saw that one coming. LJ just went in, snaked him, took him. I'm just pissed I can't keep Torrey Hunter again. I kept him last year. He was my best keeper. Had the best batting average. I led the league in batting average last year because of Torrey Hunter.
Yeah,
he was awesome. And Mike Trout. I mean, we have the ultimate piece. I outspent everybody last year for Mike Trout at $46.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to, of course, keep Mike Trout. I would keep him at $56. I wouldn't even care. He's that good. And we have a great young shortstop in Jean Segura, so that's another keeper.
Mm-hmm.
He has some pop in his bat, and he steals a bunch of bases. So we know we're keeping him. I don't know beyond that. I mean, look at our pitching stats.
Yeah, let's talk about pitching.
You keep Masterson at $1.
Yes.
That's just a deal. You can't pass that up.
Yes, I will hang on to John Lester.
No, we won't be hanging on.
You don't want John Lester for
Lester
$10?
was awful last year. He got worse and worse as the season went on. He started great and then just got worse and worse. We're keeping Craig Kimbrell at $19.
You said Craig Kimbrell?
Yeah. Kimbrell.
Yeah. I like that.
That would be a good move, yeah.
We don't keep R.A. Dickey at $17. No, even though I think he's going to have a better year this year.
You and I are at odds on that. I don't think he's going to.
It's so hard to predict with the knuckleball.
Now we need to figure out Travis Wood is a good young pitcher for the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
And we have him for $10, and we need to figure out, is he gonna be as effective as I mean, last year he had 9 wins, struck out 144 people, had a whip of 1.14, and an ERA of 3.1.
That's not bad, and for $10, I think you might as well keep him. I think you're not going to get much better production for that price point, in my opinion.
Maybe we keep Lester too at 10 then. If you can make the case for Wood, I guess we can make the case for Lester too.
It makes sense.
And he's coming into a contract
the only thing you can say
so.
is the NL Central, with the exception of maybe the Cardinals and possibly the Pirates, I mean, is a weaker hitting division than the AL East does.
Problem with Lester is, his ERA was 3.75 and his whip was 1.29. 15 wins and 177 strikeouts.
Right. You also have to look at the division he's playing in, though, too.
Let's ask the question for fantasy baseball players around the world. Mm-hmm. Do you draft? Where do you take Ryan Braun?
This is something that it's going to be based on. He's a crapshoot right now as far as fantasy baseball goes, because he's mended fences in Milwaukee, trying to keep his job there based on what has come out last year and about the biogenesis thing. And what I'm looking at is get him cheap. Get him cheap if you can. Don't spend anything higher than probably, I want to say, 4th, 5th round pick on him.
Really?
Yeah. I based on the fact that you don't know what kind of year he's going to have coming off of basically missing most of last year, and the fact that he, I just don't have the thought that he's going to be as productive as he has been this year. Not yet. If this was a year from now and we're looking at the 2015 season and he had a decent year this year, then he could be going upwards next year, but not this year. I don't think. Probably a 4th or 5th round pick is what I would spend on him.
The consensus I get around fantasy baseball world is 2nd round.
Okay.
2nd round. He's a 2nd round pick right now. And that's where you would make your move on him. It's like late 2nd round.
Okay.
And so, I mean, it's kind of splitting the difference for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't take him 1st round. If I stretched, I might be able to make a case to take him like 3rd round, but I couldn't see 2nd round or 1st round, to be completely honest.
Is Chris Davis going to keep up his torrid home run pace this year?
No, I don't think so. I think he had a very abnormal year for Chris Davis. I think he might hit 30, but I don't think it'll be anywhere near where he was last year.
So, I mean, last year he went for $1 in our league. $1.
Yeah.
And he was a keeper at $1. He didn't even go for $1. Somebody just kept him for $1.
Yeah.
He's 27 years old. He's going to be 28 going into the season. Mm-hmm. Prime of his career.
Yep.
Has a possibility of equaling what he did last year or even being better. Because of where he is with his career. Mm-hmm. That's a tough one because regression.
How many home runs did he have last year? He had 55 home runs, something like that, somewhere in that area.
Let me go back. It was 50. No, it was 43 home runs.
It was only 43. I thought it was more than that. I could see him hitting 30. I don't see him ballooning up to numbers like 50. I mean, if he had a repeat year like last year, now knowing that he only hit 43 instead of the 55 that I was thinking, he might be able to get back up to that level. But looking at it, I think he kind of regresses a little bit and goes back down to the low 30s, mid 30s in home runs.
His batting average has got some issues too. Joe Smarge, we have another interesting situation on our roster. We have Adrian Beltre, who year in and year out, since he left the confines of Fenway, has had good seasons.
And he's been relatively healthy.
Not even relatively healthy. He's been healthy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's going to be 35 going into the season. Do we keep him at $28?
I have this gut feeling, and it's a gut feeling. It's not based on any real objectivity.
We're not going to get Cabrera or Longoria because both of them are eligible to be kept, I think.
I have a feeling this is the year where he is going to end, he will get injured this year at some point. A significant injury.
Yeah, but I mean, what are we going to do? Take David Wright?
Yeah, I mean, I think we do have to keep him because of the like you said, there's just not anyone else to take.
Because I'm looking at the league. I mean, we don't have anything.
Yeah. This is a tough league because we didn't tell you this, Chris, or the listeners don't know, but we basically, all the infield positions, we have 2 of each actively playing. And then we have, 5 outfielders, 6 outfielders?
Well, based on that information, you almost have to keep both, right? Even if there's $28.
Yeah, there's just, it gets tough in this league.
Now we have Matt Davidson, who just got traded from Arizona to the White Sox and is slotted in as their starting third baseman. This is a youngster from Chicago, and he was a minor leaguer. So
here's a thought for you: do you think the White Sox have a bounce back year this year? They were expected to be good this last year, and it didn't quite happen the way they wanted it to.
The White Sox?
Yeah. Do you think they have a bounce back year?
No.
No? Okay.
I don't think the White Sox are good enough roster-wise to have a bounce back year.
Okay.
That's my issue with them is that let's look at their roster. If you want to talk about the White Sox, I don't see Chris Sale, Jose Quintana, John Danks, Renzo, and Polino. I mean, we got Renzo on our team. He's their 4th starter. This guy Jones is their closer. Adam Dunn and Canarco as their designated hitters.
Right.
And none of these players jump out at me as anybody that's really great.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
We have their catcher on our team, though, Fegley.
Josh Fegley. Yeah, I saw that.
We can keep him for nothing. God, I picked up a lot of young people last year.
I did. We didn't have much choice, LJ. The team was in sore sorts when I handed it over to you.
Xander Bogaerts. What do you think is Xander Bogaerts, Joe Smarch? Now that Stephen Drew is probably departing, and it's probably going to end up a Yankee. From what all I'm hearing is the Yankees are going to make a move for Stephen Drew.
Well, I think he's the guy, unless he has some kind of major regression or serious injury or problem. I mean, he's definitely their guy going forward. He can definitely play the position defensively, and I think he hits a little better than say Iglesias. And I think he's definitely their guy, and they have some flexibility there. There were some times where they've moved him in and out of third base too for games and stuff, so he can also play the third base position. So he's definitely, he's definitely the shortstop going forward, and it's a much better situation they've been in for shortstop than in years past.
Yeah.
Best situation you've been in shortstop since Hanley Ramirez was in town.
Yeah.
He had a fairly good showing in the playoffs, too, if I do remember correctly, especially from that ALCS. So, Yeah, that's not a bad move. And as far as the Iglesias comment, you were exactly right, because Iglesias can't hit the beach or he can't hit the water standing on the beach. So it's, but he does have a very fantastic glove, which is part of the reason why I want him here. But the Xander Bogaerts play, I think, it should be a good spot for the future of the Red Sox shortstop position. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing that could have happened in my mind is that Stephen Drew ended up back in Boston.
Yeah.
Like that, if that had blown up in their face, I would not be happy about Stephen Drew.
That's right. He'll head over to the Bronx, and you can hate him from there.
All right. How much do you spend on Will Myers this year? Outfielder, Tampa Bay Rays. Second year in the bigs, first season, going to be the starter right from go. How good is this guy going to be?
Yeah, as far as Will Myers goes, I think, if you go anywhere between, try like a 5 or a 10 on him, see what happens. And if he gets better, then, there you go. But I think 5 or, between 5 and 10 somewhere, just because of the fact that he's young. And if you can get him for that cheap, then I'd say do it.
Billy Hamilton. This guy has the potential. You know about Billy Hamilton?
I haven't heard much on him.
I haven't either.
He is a record-setting speedster in the Cincinnati Reds organization. I'm talking 155 stolen bases in the minor leagues in one season. But he doesn't get on base. He hits for shit. And that's his problem. He had 256 in the minors. And he's got to hit major league pitching and get on base. It looks like since the Reds let Shin-Sho Choo go, they're going to attempt to have Billy Hamilton as their starting outfielder, a starting center fielder. Defensively, he's a plus. On the base paths, he's a plus. But he's a minus elsewhere.
It looks like I'm looking at his regular season totals from major leagues, and it looks like he actually made an impact for the short time that he was up. He was up for basically a cup of coffee. He had 19 at-bats, 7 hits. And stole 13 bases.
13 bases.
13 bases in 19 at-bats. That's insane.
13 bases. They got him projected for 62 for the 2014 season.
Oh, man, if he continues on that pace, it'll be a lot more than 62. Let me tell you that.
I know. He has the potential to break Ricky Henderson's record.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a base stealer this prolific in baseball since Ricky Henderson retired.
And he was only caught one time.
Yes. He is amazingly fast and amazingly good at stealing bases.
Yep.
Amazingly good at stealing bases.
And something tells me the 2 doubles that he hit last year were probably singles he stretched, to tell you the truth. But I think, are you asking for a price point on him?
Yeah. Where do you risk it with him? I mean, this is a guy that's like a one category superstar. Mm-hmm. And, if you've got your batting average secure, you can take a flyer on this guy late. But I wouldn't invest any real money on him, is what I'm thinking.
I'd say somewhere between probably between 10 and 15. To be completely, I'd give him more than Myers, and based on the fact that he's got
Myers has a better batting average, hits for power, get you some ribbies. I mean, Hamilton's is one stat guy.
He's a one stat guy, but if that stat can change a game. That turns into runs scored. That turns into more points. I think, give him the benefit of the doubt. Go between 10 and 15 on him. And I wouldn't say go any higher than that.
Chris Curtis, ladies and gentlemen, optimistic on Billy Hamilton.
I am optimistic on Billy.
He's bullish.
Looking at his numbers,
this is like picking stocks. He's bullish on Billy Hamilton. I like that.
Well, I mean, look at his stats. 19 at bats, 13 stolen bases. You can't ignore that.
That is efficient.
So no kidding.
That is efficient.
So.
Clayton Kershaw, how much is he worth? We know what he's worth to the Dodgers. How much is he worth to everybody else?
Do you think he has the same year that he had last year? Coming to his first year of this big contract?
I don't see why not. I don't see why he doesn't keep doing what he's doing. It isn't like he moved out of Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
It isn't like he stopped learning. It isn't like he stopped figuring out how to strike people out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 240 strikeouts? The only one who struck out more people than him was Yu Darvish.
With the money that was put on him this last offseason, what I really don't want to see from him is I don't want to see him put too much pressure on himself to try to make that up in 1 year. Because that happens a lot with multi-year contracts. And I look at the Carlos Zambranos of the world. Look how much pressure he put on himself, and then now he's pitching in winter ball and getting into a brawl.
Big Z. Yeah.
Yep. There you go. And he had a multi-year deal in Chicago, and it did not work out for either side. And I think part of that had to do with pressure. And I think that I don't want to see Clayton Kershaw go through that in LA, because I think he is a great pitcher, and I think he has the potential to take that team to a World Series. It's just, he's got to do what he did last year and just think like he did last year, not think about the money.
Well, true. Now, Max Scherzer. Mm-hmm. Is he in a contract year this year?
This is his contract year, yes.
Okay. How much do you spend on Max Scherzer this year? How good is he going to be? Because 2012 was his improved year. Last year was his insanely good year. Mm-hmm. What's he going to do this year?
I think it'll be somewhere in the middle between 2012 and 2013. I think he'll still be very steady. I think he'll still be very good, but I don't think he'll mimic the numbers win-loss ratio as he did last year. And even in a contract year, I don't think that's going to hurt him as far as money goes for next offseason, or even before spring training if that gets done, because they're still talking about it. But the end-all be-all of it, I think, is that he'll be somewhere in the middle. And as far as fantasy goes, probably, and you got to look at what you're paying your other starters and kind of base it on that. I haven't checked to see what you're paying on your other starters yet, but
he's available. That's why I'm looking. I'm like,
okay. Well, what are your other starters looking like as far as price point?
Chris Sale is available. Mm-hmm. Someone dropped him last year.
There you go. That's a thought.
I don't like Chris Sale. I think he's too fragile. He throws the ball in a way like Steven Strasburg. Mm. It looks like Strasburg's always gonna just snap his tendons every time he throws the ball. You feel like all his tendons are just gonna, and then he's gonna need 20 Tommy John surgeries.
Well, I mean, Chris Sale's been fairly steady for the White Sox. I mean, there's no real argument to that. The only wall he runs into is when he plays the Tigers. But he's got two other teams in that division that he can handle for the most part, with the Indians and the Twins, and everybody handles the Twins. So, that'd be a bit of a gamble, but as far as gambles go, that wouldn't be a bad one.
Seattle, they're going to win more games this year. King Felix,
yep. Mm-hmm.
Does he get bumped up in what you spend on King Felix this year, because he's going to get more wins? Because that was his issue. His 3-year average is only 13 wins.
No, it's because he had no run support.
220. Well, I mean, his ERA and WHIP, his WHIP is 1.16, but the ERA 3.1. This year they got him projected at 2.9 and 1.15 for WHIP.
Okay.
15 wins. They got him amped up a couple more wins, a few more strikeouts.
I think he could get as high as 17 wins, to be completely honest. He's got some more run support around him. I think he could get as high as that. I think you could potentially spend a little bit more money on him. What did he go for last year?
30. He was kept at $33.
Kept at 33. You could probably put him somewhere between 36 and 40.
Here's one of my many LJ mistakes. I was too quick to cut Michael Wacha. Flocka. I've been calling him Waka Flocka.
Flame, yeah.
Yeah.
And I had Michael Waka Flocka in my minor league system, called him up, he messed up. I got too impulsive and I kicked him to the curb.
Yes, you did.
And then he had an impressive but he wasn't going to help me last year. So you have to make these tough decisions.
Right.
So now he's not a keeper. Now Foley gets to keep him for $10.
Mm-hmm.
Damn you, Foley.
Hi, folks. Did you know that Argo brand cornstarch has been the chef's choice in cornstarch for over 75 years? And you know what else? Our own Frenchie the Greek is a 5-star chef with over a decade of experience. So tell us, Frenchie, why is Argo the chef's choice in cornstarch?
I apply Argo liberally throughout the day to reduce chafing and prevent irritation. Nothing keeps me as comfortable all day long.
So there you have it. Argo, the chef's choice for over 75 years.
Argo cornstarch. It promotes dryness.
The Northwestern football team wants to form a union.
Yes, indeed. For those that did not hear, the Northwestern Wildcats NCAA football team is going after the going after the NCAA, basically stating that they want to be compensated for the effort that they're putting out each and every week during the college football season. And honestly, I don't think they're too far off base here. They're going to the NLRB, for those that don't know what that stands for, the National Labor Relations Board, and basically looking for a ruling on this. And if it could be a stepping stone to, compensation given all over the country for college athletes by the NCAA. And the NCAA is absolutely not happy about this. They put out a statement yesterday basically stating that if we start treating them like employees, it takes away from the college atmosphere. But honestly, at this point, with the amount of money the NCAA brings in with all the bowl games, with March Madness.
Now, hold on, Chris Curtis, my hypocrisy meter is like glaring in my head.
Fury here, LJ.
Okay.
Because the NCAA had the nerve to say it's about education.
Yeah.
Had the nerve to say it's still about education.
That's
the
exactly it.
unmitigated gall to say it's still about education.
Right.
Sir, your bowls collect a shit ton of money for these schools. Your advertising revenue from Tostitos and Nike and everybody under the fucking sun. Oregon's football team is sponsored by Nike.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They already are employees of Nike.
Yeah.
It's time for these kids to get paid.
Not just that, LJ, but they're not educating these kids. There's a new report today based on the CNN story that they did at UNC, where they basically talked to a bunch of football athletes there and found that those guys really weren't reading at like a college level or anything, that they didn't seem educated, they were getting any education. And UNC put out a statement today admitting that they had basically fake classes running for some of these guys.
Yeah.
And the administration claims they didn't know, that the professors were in on it or whatever.
Right.
But if you think that's an isolated thing.
That's not an isolated thing. That goes back to basket weaving 101. That's the oldest joke in NCAA sports. What's he got this year? He's got basket weaving. He's got history of film in the current century. He's basically, his assignment was to go rent movies and not even write about them. Just come to class and talk about it at least every once in a while.
Right.
I mean, that's the type of shit that the athletes have been getting away with for years. Yes, Richard Sherman went to school, got a 3.9 in communications from Stanford. He did not piss his education away. But there's also a shit ton of these guys that are back in, East Bumfuck Trailer Park or East, Ghetto or wherever that didn't get their education, that are, hustling, talking shit down at the bodega every day, smoking blunts and doing whatever because they didn't get their education.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's not the NCAA's. If the NCAA was really about education, they'd focus on education, but they don't. They're hypocrites when they enforce their rules. They're hypocrites when they talk out of one side of their mouth and out of the other side of their mouth. They're just hypocrites altogether. The SEC needs to start their own conference, start their own commission, start their own everything, because if the SEC does it, then the Pac whatever will join, and the big whatevers will join, and the ACC will join, and then the NCAA will be left without any power. If they can literally, Nick Saban could literally take all the power away from the NCAA if he wanted to. If Nick Saban went to his other coaches and said, guys, and athletic directors and said, guys, let's form our own commission that just monitors football and at this level, and we take care of everything, we can do it ourselves and send the NCAA packing. If they wanted to, they could shut the NCAA doors today.
I mean, honestly, to tell you the truth, I think even if it's not a monetary compensation to a point, I think, make sure these kids are getting fed, make sure these kids have health coverage for things on the field and off the field for that matter. The fact
Chris,
of the matter
their scholarships are not even guaranteed for the 4 years. They're year-to-year contract employees.
Just get shuffled around.
They're consultants, basically. They might as well be filling out a 1099.
You get injured and that's it. You're cut and
you don't get any unemployment
nothing.
Insurance. You don't get anything when you're a contract employee.
Yeah.
That's what these guys are. They're contract employees. This is the smartest thing they could have done. Kudos to these kids from Northwestern. I knew that was a good school. They're smart kids over there.
The coach is entirely with them too. I can't remember his name, it escapes me right now. But he basically tweeted out something to the effect of, I'm proud of my guys for doing what they believe in, go Cats, or something like that.
I've only seen one scumbag in the press, Doug Gottlieb, defend the NCAA. Everybody else is like, fuck the NCAA. I hope they fucking die. I hope Northwestern kids get everything they want.
Yes,
there's money that can be resourced to these kids. that goes to these scumbags in the NCAA so they can fly around in private jets and go to Super Bowl parties.
Yes, absolutely. That's the big thing is I think that this is it's not a big story yet, but stay tuned because this could blow up huge if the NLRB does indeed side with Northwestern.
And this is not unprecedented on college campuses because the graduate students all are in unions now pretty much across the country. Actually, the United Auto Workers organize the grad students at a lot of colleges. They organized them here at UMass. They've organized them at other big state universities across the country. So, I mean, this is not anything new where labor and education have met.
No.
Because the professors have unions, the workers in campuses have unions, the grad students now have unions. So this is just the next logical step. These kids should be covered.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, and it is like you said, Chris, it is a big moment in that if they certify them to form a union, then it will be much easier for other schools and other athletes to do this at their schools. And you may see a domino effect where more and more athletes are unionizing at their school.
Basically, stay tuned. Because,
and that'll take all the power out of the NCAA's hands if you have most of these big schools have players' unions.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The power will go away, and I think it needs to because, I mean, honestly, the NCAA has too much power as it is. Way too much power. So
be nice if 30 years from now there's no NCAA.
Well, you know what? You know what will still be here in 30 years, LJ? The NBA.
Damn right.
Yeah, absolutely.
LeBron James will be commissioner by then.
Yeah.
I swear to God, he's on his road to being that. He's already wants to consult with the new commissioner, Adam Silver, and sit down and discuss the league and what they can do for young players and everything else. LeBron James, ambassador for the game. And karaoke expert. Did you see the karaoke they did?
No, I did not see.
Oh God! If you have a chance to go online, you can go watch the videos and they go to the Miami Heat Instagram. There's pictures of LeBron dressed in a scarf up there doing some Jodeci.
Oh wow!
And just having a good old time. And then Chris Bosh is up there and singing an array of different songs. Chris Bosh is a well-rounded individual. His taste in music is very well-rounded. He's not. I mean, has there been a more fun NBA franchise to follow? In the world of social media, the Miami Heat have pretty much nailed marketing their team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
The one thing I want to touch on the Heat real quick. Just before we get into last night's game, I want to preview tonight's game. It's a big one. It's the
Thunder versus the Heat.
Spurs and Heat.
Spurs and the Heat. Thunder versus the Heat.
Thunder versus the Heat. I got everything kind of screwed up there. That's fine. But
you're confusing me, sir, because I'm looking at the schedule and it says OKC Miami.
You're right.
It's in Miami tonight.
And that's what we're looking at. Kevin Durant and LeBron James going head to head. LeBron earlier in the week was quoted as saying he's pretty much unstoppable. And
well, of course, he's setting the stage. He's lowering the expectations. Mm-hmm. And then tonight it's going to be anything you can do. Well, I can make the other players on my team do it. Because that's what LeBron does, is he makes everybody else around him better. He's not gonna, at any given point in a game, LeBron James could take over and drive the lane consistently and score. Mm-hmm. Remember that play in last year's playoffs? It was against the Pacers. They handed him the ball at the top of the key, and he just took it to the hole. He said, Roy Hibbert, fuck you. He said, Paul George, fuck you. He said, fuck you to everybody. He took it to the hole and scored when they needed a basket. Mm-hmm. And that's what LeBron James can do. Kevin Durant has just been shooting the lights out. He's 6'9", 6'10", with the wingspan of a 7-foot-something guy and the shooting ability of Steph Curry.
Yeah.
So the thing he lacks is the defense and the ability to make all the players around him as good as LeBron makes the players around him.
Shooting, 55-60% over those last 10, 11 games?
Durant's ridiculous, but LeBron's been shooting 60% all year.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
I mean, LeBron is just ridiculous right now. And LeBron's not going to go down. And this gives LeBron something to shoot for this year because, I mean, everybody's been bored with the Heat this year, including the Heat themselves. Mm-hmm. They've literally got nothing to shoot for other than when they play Indiana. Yeah. And for whatever reason, Brooklyn gets up for playing them. But, I mean, Brooklyn needs to get in the playoffs before we can even talk about them.
Yeah.
But, I mean, right now it's Pacers and the Heat in the East and tonight we get to see a preview of maybe what the NBA finals can be again.
Yeah.
Last night, the Golden State Warriors lost a game that they probably shouldn't have lost.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. They lost to John Wall and the Washington Wizards, and John Wall basically played them for a fool the entire night.
Well, the Smash Brothers did not want to play, did not know how to stop these guys.
Right. Yeah,
Wizards behind Bradley Beal and John Wall abused Steph Curry, and Steph Curry didn't even score that much, didn't even have that many assists. I mean, right. John Wall got in his head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was definitely an intimidation factor going on there in Washington, and they took it to Golden State from the opening tip, and you saw the late three by John Wall, and he had a whole bunch of those, and it turned into a big upset, Eastern Conference over Western Conference, and yeah, it was a good game to watch, and it was a good game.
It was an ugly game, 88-85. Yeah, with those two teams, you'd expect. This was a lot of. I'm looking now at the stats, and maybe so 6 turnovers for Beal, 5 for Wall, 6 for Curry, 3 for Klay Thompson. The shooting percentages were just god awful.
I'm thinking a lot of it had to do with defense, though. A lot of
it had to do with them being drunk. I mean, this was just a badly played game altogether. I swear they all went to the strip club in Oakland the night before. Yeah. I think that's what happened. I think this was just an anomaly of a game right here.
It very well could have been, but I think it was still a very competitive game. How's that?
Paul George went home to Los Angeles and put on a show.
Yeah. Yep.
Doing behind the back layups and dunks and all other craziness. I mean, they beat on the Lakers so badly they spread their scoring out. Everybody on their starting 5 was in double figures.
I want to put this thought into your head. You think 5 years ago we thought that we'd be looking at possibly next year the Lakers and the Celtics having the top 2 picks in the draft?
No, nobody. I mean, the Celtics we knew were going to have to rebuild eventually.
Yeah.
So it would, and the Lakers too. I mean, both teams.
I'm not that surprised.
I mean, let's be honest now. Did we really think Gasol, Steve Nash, and Kobe Bryant, all of their advanced ages, was going to be able to keep the Lakers honestly in contention?
No, I didn't think that was going to keep them in contention per se, but I thought they'd still be a middle of the road team and up until the youth movement comes into LA. You know what I mean? So I didn't think they'd drop this hard. Is kind of what I'm getting at.
And now I love the rumors that fly around. Kevin Love to the Celtics. Kevin Love to the Celtics.
Who spread that rumor, LJ? Who's tweeting that out?
Well, that I think I did. Now I heard other people say it, but I mean, Kevin Love to the Celtics would be. The Celtics have all the pieces. They've already made deals with the T-Wolves before. They could unload Jared Sullinger, Jeff Green.
Yeah, they could do the whole thing all over again. The new
picks.
crop of players.
For Kevin Love and Chase Budinger. Steal Budinger while you're there, too. And have the whitest team around. Because then you'd have Olenek, you'd have Kevin Love, you'd have Budinger, you'd have Brad Stevens, who's got to be the whitest guy that's ever been created.
Yeah.
Is there anybody whiter than Brad Stevens?
Yeah, probably me.
Oh, well.
He's definitely the whitest guy to coach basketball.
Yeah, he simply is the whitest guy to coach basketball.
Yeah.
I've never seen any, and his interviews are as boring and as vanilla as he looks.
I got another one for you. Rick Carlisle.
Rick Carlisle's so crazy, though. If you look at Rick Carlisle, he's got crazy written all over him. And if you read about Rick Carlisle, he's crazy. He has their players do wind sprints before games and times them. Mm. Rick Carlisle's not a normal person. That's why Dallas is a good team. Because Rick Carlisle's crazy. And I'm talking about crazy in a good way. But he's crazy. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And Joe Smarge, you lived through the Gerald Green lean years.
Tony Battie and all those guys.
Gerald Green is now a fierce basketball player in Phoenix.
He is. But that doesn't make it a bad trade.
No. God, no. But Gerald Green is 28 years old and has come into his own. Now that Bledsoe's out, Gerald Green is a starting guard for a good Phoenix Suns team and takes the ball to the hole at will.
Well, if you had been watching back then when he was with the Celtics, I mean, you could see that potential there. There was no doubt that he had the potential to be a pretty good player, and he's just finally now coming into his own. So I'm happy for him, no doubt.
This is an interesting turn of events. Because you didn't think it. When I was watching him the years ago when it was him and Gomes and and young Rondo. And
Theo Ratliff and Tony Battie and all those guys.
Well, it was Theo Ratliff's expiring contract. Yeah. Let's be honest. There was no actual Theo Ratliff.
Yeah,
but
well,
I mean,
was Delonte around then too? I think Delonte was around that year too. He was one of the guys that they kept on.
Phoenix. Are they gonna? One way are they going? They have a shit ton of late round draft picks. All their draft picks are like after the 15th pick.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows what they're gonna do?
That's a tough place to be in the draft.
Honestly, I think it's less tough than you think. With the talent that's out there in the draft next year, they could essentially steal somebody, depending on how far they would fall. So we'll see.
God,
I mean,
someone's
I'm not
going to fall to
write them
them
off yet.
out of one of those picks. It's going to be good. But Phoenix can package these guys along with Okafor's expiring contract and actually make a move for someone who's good.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Like a Gordon Hayward, or a Jeff Green, or someone out there that can add to that team. But I don't know if Hornacek wants to mess with his chemistry right now.
Yeah.
Who the fuck?
Yeah,
knows?
that's a very good point.
I
think it's about time we head over to San Antonio and kind of put a public service announcement out there for the Spurs fans. There's a stat that was put out on ESPN that's been kind of floated about the last few days, and against teams in the top 7 as far as winning percentage, the Spurs are 1-10, and they are 32-1 against everybody else. And I think, and LJ and I went over this, LJ Smarge and I went over this before the show, and basically, you really have no need to worry. A lot of the losses, and LJ will tell you, they were just bad scheduling as far as.
And they lost to Houston in a back-to-back. They lost to Portland in a back-to-back. But then they also can't beat Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City has their number right now.
Mm.
And Houston seems to be abusing them. But those are the two teams that they've lost the majority of games against.
Mm.
I mean, they have like 2 other losses. One was to the Knicks, which was just a weird loss. Mm. And what was the other one was to the Clippers, which, that's a coin flip of a game.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, they're still abusing who they need to abuse. They lost to the Heat too, but I mean, that was a night where nobody was playing. I mean, they sit a lot of guys. They'll be ready for the playoffs. So you're right. Public service announcement, Spurs fans, don't worry. I don't think Spurs fans worry. I think Spurs fans are like Patriot fans. I think that they trust in Popovich the way Patriot fans trust in Belichick.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like you said, though, they're built for the playoffs. They'll be there when the playoffs start and probably when they end, to be completely honest. So we'll see.
And Tony Parker's still amazing when he gets to the basket and hits those little floaters in the lane. And I was watching the other day, and I was like, Tony Parker's still so fast and so good. And they've had some issues. Kawhi Leonard's been hurt.
Yeah.
They've had some. Danny Green didn't live up to what he was going to be. Like we talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago. I forgot when we were talking about it, but I'm regurgitating what I said earlier. But they're the second place team, and Oklahoma City just went on a ridiculous one of 8 wins in a row, 9-1 in their last 10.
Yep. And
they're only 2.5 games out. Portland has fallen off a little. They've lost a couple in a row. The Clippers are still contending like crazy. I mean, they're quietly going about their business. Mm-hmm. The Rockets need to trade for Jeff Green. Phoenix needs to make a trade if they're going to jump to the next level. But right now, Phoenix is ahead of Golden State and Dallas.
You guys can trade for Monroe.
Oh, you just want to get rid of Monroe. You guys, Detroit is just in bad shape when it comes to basketball right now.
We actually had a verbal altercation between Mo Cheeks, the coach, and a fan. A couple of fans, probably a week back. There was some verbal cursing thrown each way, and it was an interesting time. And it just kind of spells we could have another one and done year for a coach in Detroit, and that's spells doom. It really does. It really, really does.
Chris, was there a brawl? Was there any physical altercation in that, or
not physical? It's just verbal.
It's not like it's not the new Malice of the new generation.
No, Malice at the Palace. Yeah, I still remember that. Actually.
Now, Chris, let me ask you this: it's time for Joe Dumars to be fired, correct?
Yeah, just based on the fact that he hasn't done anything since like 2005. Yeah, I'd say so.
It's time for him to be fired.
Yes,
I can't emphasize this enough. He needs to be fired. I mean, he's a disaster. He didn't bring in a coach. He brought in an old coach, and Mo Cheeks is from the old school and doesn't do the analytics and doesn't do the and doesn't do all the fun stuff that it takes to win. Because any analytical guy would not have put Josh Smith, Greg Monroe, and Andre Drummond on the same team.
Exactly, on the same floor. Yeah.
And Joe Dumars needs to go. He doesn't understand the NBA anymore. He has no idea how to build a team the way it needs to be done. They need to go grab someone from the Daryl Morey school of thought, the San Antonio Spurs school of thought. That's how you build a team nowadays.
Yep.
You don't build it with just putting together guys that are not compatible with each other.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what's been done here. I mean,
and the Pistons don't complement each other. There's no complementary play. Sorry, I stepped on your line. Go ahead.
You're fine. I was just saying that it's obvious to see that those three just can't work together, and that's basically it. And the fact is nobody's working to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have this is a disaster if you're a Piston fan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a team that was expected to at least get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
If not, make a stink in the first round.
Well, the only good thing about this is they should just reverse ship and do they own their draft pick this year?
I believe so. Yeah. I don't think they gave it up for anything.
So if they have their draft pick this year, they need to consider that they may want to be the tankers.
Yeah, based on what the season's looking like halfway through, yeah, I completely agree. I mean,
they need a wing scorer. They really need a wing scorer. They need to trade Greg Monroe, move Josh Smith to the power forward, put a chain around his leg so he stays near the paint.
Yes.
And do not let him drift out to the 3-point line and take horrible shots or drift too far out and try and hit 2-point shots. Josh Smith, you're not Kevin Garnett.
Right.
You don't have that jump shot. You know who is Kevin Garnett is Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is the next Kevin Garnett.
Did you see the game he had last night?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. If you watch that game, all that says to me is Kevin Garnett 2.0.
Yeah, what, 9 blocks or something ridiculous like that?
8 blocks, and he was hitting mid-range jumpers like he was a 32-year-old pro. Yeah,
it was absolutely ridiculous what Anthony Davis did last night. And there was the one. I don't remember. Oh, actually, that was the other game. That was the Golden State Washington game. I was going to mention the block that John Wall put on. I think it was Steph Curry after the turnover on the first play of the game.
Oh, he had to establish himself. You're going to get in there and you're going to block Steph Curry's shot at home. Don't go for it. Shut him down. Yeah. If you're gonna go after him, you got to go after him. John Wall went after him.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was not afraid to go after him. He's like, all right, we're 500, but you're about 500. Nah, they're 587, but. Washington had to show itself. They went out west and they had to show that they could win, as we've come all the way around to this again.
But yeah, going back to Anthony Davis, he had a hell of a game last night. The 8 blocks, and Cleveland didn't know what to do. They really did not know what to do. They were just completely lost their entire game. And the Pelicans
have won 3 in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a future with Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday and I mean, I don't know if they have a future with Eric Gordon, but they need to figure some stuff out around the perimeter. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if they were to trade Ryan Anderson when he gets healthy for a legit rim protector to team with Anthony Davis, this is a team that could go places in the future. Mm-hmm. It's just nice that the Sixers have their draft pick, which is top 5 protected. So I want to see them win a little more.
Yeah.
So they don't have a chance to end up in the top 5, but I don't want them to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I want that 11th pick. With that 11th pick, you can get a really good player. You can get Gary Harris from Michigan State.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess before we wrap up here, I'll make a bit of a programming note. This Sunday, of course, the big game that nobody's allowed to say the name of. Sunday.
Chris Curtis will be announcing. Like I said, if you don't like Joe Buck, if you don't like Troy Aikman, you're going to get. Because they don't have my greatest announcer on the game, Gus Johnson. He should be announcing everything I watch, but
yes,
he's got the greatest.
Fired!
He's the greatest.
Yeah.
But Chris Curtis, you take the reins here.
Yeah, it'll be on the Free Agent Sports YouTube page. It'll be the Free Agent Sports Network will present the game. The Facebook links will be up on Sunday. The game starts I believe the game starts at 6:30. The pre-game's all day basically, and so we'll have that ready for you. And yeah, it'll be fun. Very well could have Smarge on with it as well, so that could be interesting.
Yeah, I will be. I'll be around. I'll be watching the game, and I'll be sort of jumping in. I don't know that I'm going to do a full commentary for the whole time
Yeah,
with you, but I'll be watching and jumping in. And yeah, if you want to join us for the big game, you can go to our website, freeagentspodcast.com, find us on Facebook and like us there, or follow us on Twitter at freeagentspod, and we will get those links out to you on game day as soon as we have them up and available. And you can mute your TV and fire Joe Buck all on your own.
Word.
And that's going to do it for us this week. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you on Sunday.
Count it.